I'm gonna ask you something, man. You have your gritty ready?
I got to get my gritty ready for sure.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome in. That was Christian Darrisaw there in the opening clip. He is the newest member of the Minnesota Vikings, having been drafted by the Vikings at 23 overall, offensive tackle from Virginia Tech. It worked. The first round went well. I'm in awe. The pick happened way too late last night for me to make this video, so I'm making this video today. But Rick Smillman addressed the offensive line. He traded down, got more picks, still got the third best tackle on the board, in my opinion. Outside of trading up to get Justin Fields, who almost sort of slipped to us, I think they couldn't have gone any better last night for the Vikings. So definitely a great selection. I'm very happy with it, and we're going to talk about it a little bit today. Before we get into the selection, I do want to point out the new headgear. This arrived today, the official draft hat for the 2021 Minnesota Vikings NFL draft. I now have last year's and this year's hat, so the draft hat collection has begun. And this one's not bad. If I could just critique it for a minute, the only problem is, like, I get the trucker thing, and I get it being see-through, which is cool, but the tag is massive, and you can see it, and that's kind of weird. So just a little critique, I guess you will, of the hat itself. But it's a nice hat. It's worth it. All right, so let's talk about the trade, Christian Darrisaw and the Vikings draft in the first round, and then we'll end the video with some players that I would keep my eye on tonight. So the Vikings trade down with the New York Jets. New York Jets trade up to get Elijah Vera Tucker, which kind of surprises me. Trading up, using all that draft capital to go get a guard, arguably the best interior offensive lineman available in the draft. So I can't really fault them for that. They're going to stick him next to Mekhi Becton in that offensive line. That's going to be ridiculous. Good luck getting to Zach Wilson this year. The Jets receive from the Vikings 14th overall and 143 overall. Vikings receive in return pick 23, pick 66, pick 86. So they get 2 third-rounders in this deal, and pick 66 is right at the beginning of the third round. It's basically pick 2 of round 3. So that is very critical ammunition for them to be able to use up tonight to get into the second round if they so choose to do so. And based on how the draft went last night, I think some more players are going to fall. So I think that they are definitely going to be moving up into round 2, probably using that 66 pick that they got from the Jets in order to do that. My initial reaction to the trade when it happened in real time was rather mixed. And if you follow me on Twitter at Skull Ohio, which I recommend you do because tonight that's where I'll be doing most of my live reactions. It's where I did my live reactions last night as opposed to doing a live feed. So that way I could hop in and out of other people's live streams. I was on Score North last night in the chat talking with Vikings fans. So follow me at Skull Ohio on Twitter. That way you can get my real-time reactions to everything, and then we'll talk about it the next day. Because obviously it's gonna end way too late tonight for me to do a reaction video. My initial reaction to the trade was mixed because you sit around, you wait for a few hours to hear your team make a selection, and then pause, you have to wait some more because you've traded down. I knew that was going to happen. That was one of my predictions. It's something that I've been saying for weeks now that they were going to trade down. It was inevitable. I was incorrect about the player. I thought they were going to go defense, but luckily Kwity Paye and Jalen Phillips were off the board. So I think that defense was sort of not really something that they could do justifiably with Christian Darrisaw having fallen to them at 23 overall. They nearly had a chance at Justin Fields, which I've already mentioned, and honestly, my heart was palpitating there for the good portion of that first 11 picks. When he got to pick 10, I was just like, wow. When the Broncos and the Panthers passed Justin Fields back to back, I was like, this could really happen. This could really happen. And then the Bears come up, they snipe it. He's now in the division, but with the wrong team, so that does kind of sting. I do feel a little bit bad about that. Darrisaw, Elijah Vera Tucker, and Kwity Paye and Jalen Phillips were all available at the 14th pick when we made the trade. Of course, the Jets trade up to get Elijah Vera Tucker. So it's interesting to see them, showcase some restraint and not just jumping on the player that they want at 14. I was worried about what was going to be there at 23, because if you looked at the board, you had the Raiders who needed offensive line. You looked at the Colts, they needed help in the trenches. I thought that they were going to go offensive tackle. I was kind of surprised that they went with Kwity Paye, even though it does make sense. But I had them penciled in for a new offensive tackle. The Raiders taking Alex Leatherwood is the biggest meme of the first round. It just, once again, Mike Mayock thinks he's the smartest man in the room, and that's just not the case. So I do want to thank Las Vegas for taking Alex Leatherwood and not Christian Darrisaw. I want to thank Indianapolis for taking Kwity Paye, and I want to thank Tennessee for taking Caleb Farley, because I feel like if Caleb Farley was still there at 23, Mike Zimmer would probably run over to Rick Spielman, deck him, take the phone, and do whatever he wanted, and that would be to draft Caleb Farley. So thank you, Tennessee, for saving us from ourselves and taking Caleb Farley before we had the opportunity to do so. It's actually kind of amazing how Rick Spielman was able to fleece this first round, trade back, get a couple more draft picks, and still get one of the top offensive tackles on the board. There's a lot of scouts that say that they don't see too many differences between him and Penei Sewell. Obviously, that is going to be met with a lot of pushback, but there was only a 22% chance that Christian Darrisaw was going to be available at 23 overall entering tonight. So we got really lucky. Let's not dismiss luck completely. It actually worked out. There was some moments, according to the post draft pick press conference. That's a weird phrase. That Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer both thought, we're going to have to trade back up because we're getting a little concerned about the way the board's going. I think they probably hit the panic button once Alex Leatherwood got taken. So they were trying to trade back up from 23 overall. That was something that they said. They view Christian Darrisaw as a pure left tackle, and it makes sense. He played all but 2 games as left tackle at Virginia Tech, and he has the size, the ability, the arm length, which I think was 34 1/8, if I remember correctly from his pro day. So he will be left tackle, and then Mike Zimmer said that they can keep Brian O'Neill at right tackle. So right now, the starting offensive line looks like Darrisaw at left, whoever, please God, not Dakota Dozier at left guard, Bradbury at center, Ezra Cleveland at right guard, Brian O'Neill at right tackle. They also said that they were looking at defensive players and wide receivers. Defense, yeah, of course, I get that. It's Mike Zimmer. Wide receivers is kind of a weird thing to admit that you were looking at in the first round. That means that there's somebody that they really liked. Now, the only wide receivers that went after they made their selection was Rashad Bateman, I believe. I believe Kadarius Toney went before them to the Giants, which I think was in the 20 or 21. I forget exactly. Yeah, it was 20th because they traded with the Bears, and the Bears went up and got Justin Fields at 11. So Kadarius Toney went at 21 before the Vikings selected, and then only Rashad Bateman went after them. So they've got their eye on a wide receiver that they like, and hopefully it wasn't Rashad Bateman, because maybe they trade back up and go get him. And I know a lot of people are saying we don't need a wide receiver. We run 2 tight end sets all the time. We're a run first team. Listen, you're allowed to have 3 wide receivers on the field. I understand that Minnesota makes you think that that's not allowed, but you are allowed to have 3 wide receivers on the field at once. And Chad Beebe and BB Johnson, great, they're great situational players. They're good depth, but they're not wide receiver 3 caliber that you need in the modern era NFL with the passing attack. Let's see, what else? The PFF gave Christian Darrisaw the highest. He is the highest graded Power 5 conference pass blocker with 94.5. So we, according to PFF, we get the best pass blocker in the draft. And with that, I'm going to switch over to Dane Brugler's profile on Christian Darrisaw. He writes for The Athletic. He publishes The Beast every year, the Athletic Draft Guide. 6'4", 322 pounds, junior, skipped his senior year, 35 games, 35 starts, all at left tackle with the exception of 2. Strengths, according to the scouting report: girthy, well-distributed frame, quick out of his stance, shows ability to thud with physical hands, introverted personality, good work ethic. Weaknesses are as follows: will play down to his competition, doesn't have elite lateral quickness, doesn't always dominate like he should, and not a strong finisher, which is a critique that you see from a lot of different scouts. Apparently, once he wins his battle, he just becomes a spectator for the rest of the play. He doesn't go out and find another engagement, if you will. So that'll be interesting to see if that is something that carries over. So that is the profile on Christian Darrisaw. Just a little quick breakdown of scouting notes. I don't want to read them all because some of them are just ridiculous. He shifts his hips and all this other stuff that doesn't make any sense. So very excited with the pick. Let me know what you think in the comments below about Christian Darrisaw being the first offensive tackle off the board for us, the first really a selection for us going about fixing this offensive line that was just horrible last year. Day 2 players that I'm looking at tonight, here's a list of names that I would be hopeful for. From the guard position, Wyatt Davis, Ben Cleveland out of Georgia. Interior offensive lineman, Creed Humphrey from Oklahoma. Quinn Miners from Whitewater, Wisconsin. Joseph Osai, the edge rusher from Texas. Carlos Basham Jr., another edge rusher from Wake Forest. Safety Elijah Molden. Trayvon Morig would be even great, but I think he's out of reach. Efedu Melifonwu, the cornerback. Rondale Moore would be cool. Cade Johnson, the wide receiver from South Dakota State, had a great Senior Bowl. Quarterbacks, Kyle Trask is still available. Kellen Mond would be interesting. And there's a few other players that, of course, I would love to have, like Owusu Koromoa, Elijah, or, at the aforementioned Trayvon Morig, but I think those guys are going to go early second. We won't really have an opportunity to get them. So that is my reaction to the draft pick. Let me know what your reaction is to the draft pick as well, and who are you hopeful for today on day 2. Thank you for watching. That's the end of this video. I will see you in the next one.